Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Nancy Drew. Now, I've slept between the last episode and this one, and I've kind of forgotten what I was even going to do next. There is something that, with the release of Riven Remake, which has just come out as of recording, that really highlights my difference in feeling for these types of games versus Myst. And a lot of that almost certainly has to do with nostalgia and timing. But there is something certainly that does seem to exist around Myst, where you go to an area, you get trapped in an area, you have a specific goal in an area that you have to leave that area, and usually you're finding a key to a larger puzzle in that area. And that just doesn't really happen here. In this case, I can go anywhere I want to, other than going back to Big Mike's, and I can go back to Big Island Mike's by simply just calling the Hardy Boys, which is I think what is going to end up happening here. I also wonder, in the last episode we entered an employee number. I wonder if there was an alternate way to solve that puzzle by simply putting in a different employee number and not getting caught and not having to go through a motion escape sequence, which felt very much out of place, because it's just not the kind of experience that we tend to have. Okay. So the eel is in the way. And yeah. Seems like we were supposed to talk to the Hardy Boys and trigger something first. And then later, something else is going to happen, which unfortunately means that we very likely are going to end up just fishing yet again. Like, we spent,
Hello?
I feel like, about
Hi, Frank. Me again.
2.5
Nothing
hours.
much.
Mostly I just wanted to say hi.
Glad you called. Talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah. And see, as far as the Hardy Boys challenge, we have a eel that's in the way. And we already have the map, not this. This? Yeah. So, eel, fish, turtle, or eel, shark, turtle, octopus, fish, crab, this, and this. And then it does look like there is a ring on the nose of the door. What is that sound effect? Like, we may just need to talk to Ned
Hey,
Nickerson.
what's going on?
Good talking to you.
Catch you later.
Again, I don't want to mess with the wiki-tiki thing. That was just a waste of time. And I don't want to spend any of these items. Like, I only have 11 or 13. So even if I was going to buy something, I don't know what I'm buying. Wait a minute. Let's buy this. This is only a loss of 2. And see if what is going on here is that these items here are actually used to make necklaces. I can't really afford any of this. I still wouldn't be surprised if actually that has nothing to do with anything. So yeah, 12 of these for 2, or 8 of these. I see now the trick here is that
I can't buy that yet. I don't have enough Big Island bucks.
you are effectively increasing the value of your necklaces. Yeah. So some of these components that we've been struggling to find a way to craft now all of a sudden make sense. Although I can't make this 8 one because I still don't have this. I think I can possibly make this. Although maybe not. Let's see. Are these the same as these little beads? No, these little beads are already there. Right. But I would need some of this too to make this. So do I have enough of the other things that I would need? See this, these two, and then I would need these. Yeah, I think your goal is to make the dancing lizard always. And so if I'm gonna make a dancing lizard, I could probably make 2 of them if I buy some of this and some of this. And so the hope would be that that leads to something. Don't need those. We do need those.
That's a little out of my price range right now.
So now I'm back down to like 4. Alright. One of these. One of these. You'd think you just would be able to click there, but you have to click all the way up here. Now I will state, it does look to me like you're going to run out of resources in different ratios. And in the long run, it probably is worth it, but it may not become so blatantly obvious that it's worth it because the math here is not super simple.
That looks right.
Right. So, probably would have to sell this necklace to get more of these. But I do have enough of everything else. And so there's a whole economy system here.
Hey, what's going on?
Got another necklace for you.
Let's have a look. Nice job. Here are your Big Island bucks. Pleasure doing business with you.
Guess I'll get out of your hair.
Sounds good.
That does seem to me like that is probably faster than doing this way. And maybe by purchasing the items, I've now opened up the possibility that they will show up in these areas. It's questionable whether it's worth doing all of this, though. I'm going to snorkel. Probably are getting me higher quality items, but it certainly would be nicer if the higher quality items simply just let you sell them individually.
Whoa! That eel means business.
I half wonder if we're going to find out that the eels are harmless and can't really hurt you. And I still suspect that there might be just an entire couple of locations that I'm just not seeing. I wouldn't even be surprised if, for as many stops as it is to walk from the beach to this point, wouldn't be surprised if there was just places in the grass where you can potentially find. So we want to buy more of these. I'm just going to take everything really slow. But yeah, places in the grass where you could find seashells would have been nice. So the hope is that we can build two of these necklaces and possibly something else without having to resort to buying too much more. Although it does seem to me like we're probably going to have to buy more sea beans to make the second one of these necklaces. And to me this does come off as fairly boring and perhaps even a little bit sexist, as far as here we're making a game from girls, and so let's make a challenge here. This is not going to work. We need more sea beans. That is just necklace making. Which, yes, boys can make necklaces, but they certainly are not given that activity anywhere as often as girls, I guess, used to be. I don't know if anybody's really given seashell necklace activities that often. And I guess if you were in Hawaii, it might happen somewhat frequently. Yeah. And it's an interesting thought, certainly, as far as what people consider valuable, in the fact that seashells are just hardened exoskeletons, or close enough to being hardened exoskeletons of fish wildlife, whereas
That looks right.
making a seashell based on insect exoskeletons, cockroaches, spiders, or spiders are arachnoids obviously, but that's certainly something that wouldn't sell. See, now making this Dancing Pete necklace feels like that would be a bigger investment for less return. The only thing I could think here is maybe we can make an Aloha necklace, which I think really is the only thing you can craft without buying other components. And I'm not sure that the components to make an Aloha necklace are even used in anything else. Keep wanting to move too fast here and putting it in the wrong place.
Through with that one.
Let's see. Yeah, buying this, this, and this is also still probably a worse experience. And this alone, I think, only comes from the Wiki-Tiki game. So if there was a specific reason then that we needed to make this, we might get a decent return if we bought just some more of these, but I am missing one of those. I could almost make a thundercloud, but generally I think the move is, as long as you've got these shells, and these are going to be your limiting factors, is that I need to really just figure out a way to get way more of these resources, because I have 11 of these to make Aloha necklaces. Okay, so let's see where that really just leads us to. We are at 7 now.
Hey, what's going on?
Got some more necklaces for you.
Let's
These
have
necklaces.
a look. Nice job. Here are your Big Island bucks.
4 for that, 12, 24.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Guess I'll get out of your hair.
Have fun.
This does probably indicate that there was a better, faster way this could have all gone. So I'm at 35. So let's just buy this.
Oh yeah, this is real useful.
Yeah, I almost feel like there's going to be achievements at some point for purchasing these items. And then that leaves me at 7, so if I was going to do anything more, probably will end up having to just pick up some necklace items. Yeah, if you are supposed to buy all of those, and those aren't just based off of some kind of I would assume it's probably a pre-achievement achievement, in the sense that it's something you can do to be proud that you did it, but there is no in-game or connected to Windows system that would highlight that you did something. Easter eggs, I guess, is probably another way you could describe them. But we certainly aren't moving the story forward here. So, I don't think we have anything that we can do. We can try and call this guy in. See what happens. Absolutely nothing happens. It's back to Nancy Drew.
Hello?
How are you doing?
A-okay.
Just checking in?
Just checking in. You mind?
Nope.
Good. I'll call you later.
Certainly this is an example of an era bygone that you would just call people and check in. So meanwhile, there's no nose ring here.
Something goes here, but what?
And I half wonder if we need to put items on certain statues or something. It feels kind of Indiana Jones-ish. So what I'm thinking maybe was supposed to happen, we're supposed to talk to the doctor, the insect doctor, which feels weird that you're just calling her Gabrielle, or Quigley. Yeah, her name's Quigley. I don't know where I got Gabrielle from. But yeah, if you think about how these are older books, the Nancy Drew books, it would be incredibly inappropriate and rude for even one slightly younger to refer to somebody by the first name, particularly somebody you're working for, even if you're really just an unpaid intern. I can't imagine that would have been appropriate. Of course, this may also just highlight how the Nancy Drew books would need a little modernization. Even in this case, though, it helps remind bosses that they're bosses and employees that they're employees to have the whole Mr. nonsense happen, because you just don't want to get too friendly with employees or bosses, because eventually you're going to end up having to reprimand or fire an employee, or as an employee you're eventually going to realize that your boss is exploiting you in some way or other, or treating you unfairly in some way or other. So creating this false work friendship only leads to shock when the reality sets in, and businesses a lot of times try to create the illusion of a family or a friendship, and it's just not really the case. And it's certainly something to always mentally prepare yourself against that. Good families don't actively seek out ways to exploit their employees or underpay their employees.
Quigley, can I talk to you?
I can't come down right now. The wasps I'm observing are doing some kind of dance, and I'm taking notes. What do you want?
So we just
Whatever those
once again
caterpillars have been eating is
have
not
a
what Dr.
different
Craven's
type of
been growing at the
conversation.
Hilihili.
The samples didn't match?
No, what should I do now?
Okay, listen up. Open my pack down there, take out the container of canopy samples I've collected, and see if one of them matches the frass sample. Got that?
Got it.
So there's a whole bunch of other samples that in most other point and click games I would have been able to collect a long time ago and solve, but they've locked us into a very linear experience here in that I could see this pack and just refuse to open it. Now weirdly, if Nancy Drew had just said, I don't want to go through the doctor's equipment, when you clicked on it, that would have been fine. And that is typically what you have in a lot of third-person point-and-click adventure games, is that you'll have, like Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis, for example, just say, no, not gonna do it. Things like that. Just very basic. You've tried to interact with something, or you've tried to have two objects interact with something. The games built on the Scum engine, in particular, like Indiana Jones and Fate of Atlantis is the example I'm using here, there's a lot of them, have a lot more of a thought, where you would pick up an item and then you would click on another item and interact. In this game, none of that's happening. There's, if two items were going to interact, you would have to find a table to make the two items interact first, a specific spot, which simplifies the game, certainly, but perhaps oversimplifies the game in that there's just a lot less room for experimentation, which that definitely keeps you feeling like you're just on a roller coaster being led forward on a path that cannot really be diverted from, to an extreme point where I am fairly certain I tried to talk to the doctor once before and it just didn't let me do it.
I don't need to analyze that.
So we have hibiscus, and then we are going to put 2 drops.
Definitely not blue.
And so then we'll, let's see, click this, I guess. Then we have mesquite or mosquito, and then 2 drops. Although
That doesn't match.
actually I'm not even doing 2 drops, I'm just clicking on it once. It said do 2 drops, but apparently 2 drops is just clicking once,
Not a match.
which that 2 would point out that that would just waste the player's time to have to click 2 drops.
A
but it
match. So,
makes
looks like
it
those
too
caterpillars have been eating
simple.
frittolated flag beetles, whatever they are.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do the rest of this. I guess
That doesn't match.
it would be boring if it was always at the bottom, but then that does create a situation where some of these samples just didn't need to be done.
Not a match.
And again, if this game did have achievements, then doing all this would potentially be a case where you get achievements. And I suppose I'm saying achievements, but for the time and age of this game, this would have just been points. You would have been having a score, and plenty of other point-and-click adventures, even predating this game, this era game, would just give you points for doing certain activities, and trying to go for a perfect score often would require a walkthrough just to do everything in the exact order correctly. But yeah, I don't think I actually am getting any points. Instead, the game is just wasting our time having us travel back and forth, because we have no means of communication, which would make a lot more sense if we didn't have a cell phone on us at all time. It almost would make some sense for there to be a driving mini game of some sort in between each of these sections. Just to justify having some kind of action in between the conversations.
Quigley, can I talk to you?
You see, now we have a different conversation.
Have you got
So-
something?
Well, it looks to me like those caterpillars have been eating nothing but frittolated flag beetles?
Frittolated flag beetles? No, that's not possible.
I've never even heard of a frittolated flag beetle.
The frittolated flag beetle is a relatively minor species in this area. But if your analysis is correct, that means they're multiplying at an even greater rate than the Norsabena are. The question is, why? Fame and fortune just got put on hold, Nancy. We can't go public with this until I figure out what the heck is going on.
Where are you going?
Up! I do my best thinking when my feet aren't touching the ground. Don't ask me why. I've carried you long enough, Nancy. You're on your own. Oh, wait a sec. I know what you can do. There's a metal ring inside my pack. I found it at Kapu Cave when I was setting out frass traps. Maybe you can figure out what it's for. Darn thing's got me stumped.
Okay, I'll check it out.
So there was yet another item in this bag. So all the keys to move forward are just in this bag. And again, we can't take anything else out of our bag. And so that, I think, really just is an almost completely disconnected storyline to what we're really supposed to be investigating, the real mystery of this game, which is what is the Creature of Kapu Cave and who tore up our camp. And I think it's pretty easy to guess, I might be wrong here, that what's going on is that Big Mike and the thief are potentially stealing things, hiding them in what is going to be called Kapu Cave, or somewhere between Kapu Cave and the underwater volcano tunnels. And there is also a conspiracy here in that the person who hired the Hardy Boys seems to be trying to invest in Big Island Mike's daughter before the guy in charge of Hilihili Research actually succeeds in his plant growing project and gets funding. Which, yeah, there are definitely some big gaps in logic there as to how this is all connected. But it does seem pretty obvious that if this guy succeeds in his research and gets funding, that somehow ruins the Hardy Boys and investors. The investor that hired the Hardy Boys' plans. Yeah, I don't know. I think, if I recall correctly, the investor for the Hardy Boys is planning on, like, making some kind of construction work happen. So perhaps if the Hilihili Research goes forward, then certain plants or parts of the island will be declared protected areas, and you can't then start the construction project.
A nose ring, of course.
Creepy rock eyes.
I can move his teeth now.
Okay. So what am I supposed to be doing now? What order? Because we saw the order in a curve, and that picture is not in the inventory. It would be nice if Nancy Drew had a shared inventory with the Hardy Boys. So there's only certain ones, and I don't think that was one of them. Don't think that was one of them. We can't do all eels. We can do quite a few eels. Okay. Don't think that was one of them. Turtle was one of them. Don't think that was one of them. Lobster was one of them. So, of all the options here, I think this one has to be a lobster. So, what I guess we want to figure out is how can we get the other animals in here. Like, this one, of the only ones that are right, are lobster, which we need, no, this is already lobster, and maybe this, maybe that. then it seems like it kind of balances out there with those two. This one, I think, would just be the eel. That works. I think that works. This one seems like all of those are possibly right. Alright. And so the move here, I think, is I'm probably going to need to I'm probably going to need to just look at the walkthrough again, because I could certainly exit out of this and then reset everything and then go look at the Hardy Boys map, but let's just pretend like that's what we did. Instead, I will just scroll down, which I'm already at a fairly low point in the walkthrough, so there really isn't that much to go through. So I'm looking at the chart right now, which has this image, and then this image, and then this image, then this image, and so the one we're missing is a fish going the other way. Not that, though. Not that, though. That. So this is our linchpin, and that we now need to find what we want is this fish here. There we go. So there was only one way in which you could have gotten all of those symbols into the puzzle.
It opened! I better call and tell Frank.
Then immediately
You
just
have reached.
Joe Hardy and or Frank Hardy. Only we're not available.
At the tone, please leave a message.
Frank, it's Nancy. Hey, remember that creepy face that had been carved into a wall? The one with all the pictures on its teeth? Well, thanks to that list of animals you gave me, the face opened up. And I'm about to explore whatever's behind it. I don't know if or how this helps you, but I just thought I'd let you know. Anyway, I'm going in, so wish me luck.
notice how the game just plays completely differently there in that cutscene. You call, you get a voicemail, then you just say you're going in. You'd half expect Nancy Drew to just get smacked in the face and knocked out
I
too.
feel like I'm in a sauna.
But I bet that doesn't really happen. And so we are in very much
That's lava.
Indiana
No wonder it's so
Jones.
hot in here.
I seriously doubt you could get anywhere close to lava and not die. And I don't inherently think of Nancy Drew as being so athletic that she would actually jump across lava things. Okay. So by pulling out the tongue, we have these cutscenes of moving from point A to point B. Which that definitely implies to me that that was the entirety of the puzzle. Can't even look at that statue. So statues have this inconsistent element to them in that it doesn't seem like you can always interact with them. And these definitely look like statues that could be shooting out poison darts, Indiana Jones style. It is also worth pointing out here that this definitely just does not feel like what we should be expecting from this story. This doesn't feel particularly Hawaiian. This doesn't feel particularly Mystery and Nancy Drew. And now we've just got a whole bunch of symbols on the turtle's back. And I have no idea what button to press. So let's make a safety save, even though we know the second chance system does exist. And so it's either one of two things: brute force it, or try and figure out what the move here is. So you have like a little skull here, you have something here that looks fairly innocuous as far as waves, and wind, fire, insect. This just looks like a rock. So let's just go with this one. Okay. So let's hit that again and see that that is wrong. Alright, so let's hit this one out of order. Wow. I can't use the phone, so let's go through our checklist here and see what else have we done.
Done.
A long checklist of stuff. Most of these clues not helpful. Way more.
Still need to do that.
Haven't done that.
Check. Check. Did that. Done. Done. Did that.
So yeah, there's side actions here. Yeah. But I've called Frank and Joe multiple times and still somehow have not been able to tell them that they all work for Atkins Biotech. Which, if it's Atkins Biotech, that probably isn't so much a construction around just building buildings as much as it might be construction around finding that some kind of animal or plant leads to some kind of drug. Okay. So I'm looking at the walkthrough here. Oh, okay. So apparently it is a case that we walked past all of these elements before. Let's see. There's a sizzling fire pit here that we didn't even see. There's something. There's wind here. There is water somewhere over here.
Can't go that way, that's for sure.
Okay. So maybe that statue is supposed to tell you to listen. Here you can see water. And then you see kind of light. And then you hear wind. And then fire. Yep. I definitely feel like. And then crumbling rock. Which is depicted by this, but that's not actually the correct move. It's actually the rock sound. So that's the only hint you had, and honestly, if I was just playing this normally, I would just brute force this. My lucky guess, as far as starting with the least dangerous, just got me half the way through a 4 code puzzle, with only 3 of them being wrong, and that one pretty much screaming wrong, and that one screaming wrong, although this one screams wrong too. So the solution is just that, and that.
Well, I can't get out that way, that's for sure. Looks like I'll just have to keep walking.
This is a better example. It's way too dark. The screens, there really should have been a lot more room, and frankly, in that previous puzzle, there should have been a lot more statues with big ears, if that was the move. But this is a better example, I feel, of what the whole experience would be in a Myst game, where you're just locked into one area. It's a smaller area. There's one puzzle. There's one solution on that one puzzle. Okay, I'm confused as to why you can both go around and go over. Maybe we will come back later and find that we can only go around.
I wonder if these pictures tell some kind of story.
Yeah. Now, inherently, I feel like this story is probably the story of some story that would have been told via the information kiosk in Big Mike's, but I can't call the Hardy Boys to figure that out. So let's see what we would start with. We have an island with waves and nothing, which I would assume means that's probably number 1. And I'm assuming each of these pips mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that there isn't some other numbering system being implemented here. Let's see. Then number 2 would be that a turtle comes, and then what would number 2 be? That a turtle swims by. See, this one feels... No, look at the plant here. This is how you're supposed to figure it out. So number 2 is this. Apparently can't drag and drop from one place to the other. Then number 3 is this, because the plant's a little taller. And then number 4 is this one. And at this point, the volcano starts to erupt. And as the volcano is erupting, it is creating a new island and killing off the tree, which is here. And then we have, stolen directly from Indiana Jones, a boulder.
I wonder if these pictures tell some kind of story.
So that felt like that was just a cutscene. And I feel like I solved that correctly. So I don't feel like it's worth it. We've already cheated several times now. Let's see. So either I got the code in the wrong place, which I don't think I did. No, I didn't. You just have to immediately, according to the walkthrough, like, immediately turn to the right and be out of the way of the stalled boulder. So you just have to do everything a second time, almost certainly, because there's just no way you're going to get it right and do that movement action. So come on, turn to the right. And then we get rotated to a whole nother area.
Frank, it's Nancy. Hey, remember that creepy face that had been carved into a wall? The one with all the pictures on his teeth?
And see, I think we're very close to the end at this point.
The face opened up, and I'm about to explore whatever's behind it. I don't know if or how this helps you, but I just thought I'd let you know. Anyway, I'm going in, so wish me luck.
If the pictures on that old current chart helped her, maybe whatever she just did to open up that face will somehow help me.
So yeah, as far as what we're supposed to do here, everything seems to be...
Not done with that yet.
There's just
Can't check
several
that off
things
yet.
that you just aren't going to be able to actually check off. That's annoying. Okay. Yeah, we're fairly close to the end. This will probably just be our last episode if we go a little long. And there's just a heck of a lot of story, particularly since this is based off of a book that is just not here. This is very generic. I don't even know if we're going to find an actual creature of Kapu Cave. If anything, it's going to be just an insect.
The eel's gone, and that wasn't there before. Nancy did help me.
Okay. So now we can go forward, and so the game was just forcing us in ways to go.
Whoa!
And I believe I just drowned. Yeah. You can't pull out the chart either, so this is very much just going to be a case of you want to keep going in directions that you see animals that match. But I guess you don't want to repeat either. And I bet I'm not going to get a second chance at any point where I have an oxygen meter. So I've just thrown a bunch of timed challenges in here to make the game more difficult. And for a Nancy Drew game, I just don't think this is the right way to make a Nancy Drew game. I think they should be kid friendly. I think they should be super easy. I don't think there should be timed elements to it at all.
Whoa! Whoa!
Yeah. And it certainly is just going to come down to, can you remember to not repeat things? Yeah.
The chamber Pua told me about must be in there.
And see, I assume this chamber is just going to have us meet up with Nancy Drew, or very possibly meet up with Nancy Drew and Big Mike and the bad guy thief and possibly Dr. Quigley and possibly the Hilihili guy. Interesting. So this made a path where you could climb down the location. It doesn't seem like there actually is anything there. And we can't modify anything, but we can go up. And again, I just have no idea what this is supposed to do. It's just a button. In a world full of puzzles, when you add a button, that's crazy. This really is just stealing ideas left and right from Indiana Jones and, well, Indiana Jones movies in general. Didn't open a path as far as I can tell. Maybe it opened a door over here. Maybe it just reset something back this way. These hexagon tiles scream that there'd be something you'd have to stand on. Yeah, I don't even know what to interact with. Let's just do a slower scan of the whole area.
Holy cow, those things are covered with tiny beetles. Man, whatever's inside those canisters, those beetles are going for it. Big time.
Frank, what are you doing here?
So that was the thing we just had to
Pua sent
see
me.
this.
She gave me a map. What is all this?
A huge, terrible mistake, that's what it is. I've made Pele mad.
Dad? How did you get in here?
I finally found a lava tube that bypasses the main tunnel.
Pua,
So
you
here,
followed
everybody's
I
just
had to
gonna
find
come
another
here.
way in here. So I let you figure out that chart, and then yes, I followed you.
It's over, Pua. I'm dumping those things right now.
Dad, no! We're in too deep. We've got to go through with it now.
Wait a minute. You're in this whatever it is together?
If and when the Hilihili Center shuts down, the land it's on reverts to us. Land we could turn right around and sell to developers. So I used Johnny Kudo to steal us some chemicals that would make insects start destroying the pineapples. And made it sound like Kane Okala was back to keep people out of the jungle so they wouldn't see us spraying. And then we spread the rumor that whatever was killing the pineapples was the Hilihili's fault.
My father owes a lot of money to some really bad people. That's why we did it. And if you could just not tell anyone about this, everything will be fine.
No, Pua. Pele destroyed the tunnel for a reason. She was telling us to stop. No, Pua. Pele destroyed the tunnel for a reason. She was telling us to stop.
It's Frank.
No, Pua. It's over. The earthquake was a warning. This isn't right, and if we don't stop next, she'll destroy us. You see? You see?
So it doesn't seem like Nancy Drew is even really saving the day here.
Frank, are you alright?
Hey, Nance. Yeah, I guess I'm okay. Be kinda nice to get back on solid ground, though. Any ideas?
Jump from rock to rock and head for the stairs in front of you. The ones behind Big Island Mike. But be careful. A rock that's there 1 minute may not be there the next.
And so now we just have a completely different experience. And I guess she's just not going. And is Big Island Mike going to do anything? Yeah, the idea that the rocks fall down and then you show up in a different place is very disconcerting. It seems to me like wherever you disappear, you will show up in the next logical location. So if that's the case, here is actually going to kill me, and here is going to kill me. And so, unless I was supposed to go back this direction, I mean, let's just try this. This may be very simple. Yeah. The only real problem, I think, is going to be getting something to show up ahead and to toggle things correctly. Yeah. See, his moves and my moves are interfering with each other. And see, I don't know if we're supposed to be stopping Big Island Mike from getting to his daughter or having a path. It does kind of feel like there is a possibility here where you could mess up Big Mike and kill him if you wanted to. I don't see a real reason to. Or that he could be trying to stop you, which I don't think he is. Right, so now the problem here is I take a step forward and it's gonna disappear. I think this path here I think is gonna disappear. Nope, that gets me exactly where I wanted.
Oh man, I've never been so glad to see solid ground in my
What's
life.
funny is the
Nice
CGI
work, man.
of
Tell that to them.
this
All the
hardy
time
boy
we spent on
we
this
haven't
thing
seen a lot of
wasted.
time.
I should have just gone surfing.
And I should have just gone with you.
Big Island Mike and Pua finally made it to safety, and all of us managed to get out of the cave using the lava tube that Mike had discovered. Much to their credit, he and Pua turned
Here you can
themselves
see
in
how the
immediately,
daughter
although it took a
is
while for the
very
authorities to
light-skinned
figure out
compared to the
exactly what to
father.
charge them with. As for what they had done, here's how Big Island Mike explained it. Desperate to pay off the loan sharks to whom he owed a lot of money, Big Island Mike remembered something. The land the Hilihili Research facility was on used to belong to his aunt. She willed it to the foundation that built the facility with the stipulation that the land would go to Mike if and when the Hilihili ever closed its doors. And so he set out
You
to
actually
force
can't
the
will
Hilihili
things
out
like
of
that.
business, knowing that once the land was his, he could sell it and
Not
pay off
easily,
all
at
his
least.
debts. First, capitalizing on what he knew about pineapples, he used to work for a pineapple grower. Big Island Mike hired Johnny Kudo to
This
steal
is just going to
canisters
be
of
an
pheromones
info
for
dump.
him. He knew that when sprayed
Info
in the
dump at
jungle,
the end.
these pheromones would cause an explosion in the population of the tiny and normally benign fritillated flag beetle. To lower their risk of being seen, the Mapu spread the rumor that Kane Okala was once again prowling the island. Then they sprayed the chemicals, and soon fritillated flag beetles were everywhere. Dr. Kim finally figured out that the weird whispering noise I had heard was the beetles rubbing their little legs together in some kind of greeting ritual. Soon, the beetle larvae, which are practically microscopic, started feeding on the local pineapples. And when it became apparent that something strange was going on with the pineapple crop, the Mapus began circulating the rumor that the Hilihili was to blame. And their plan almost worked. The rumor made one of the Hilihili's current owners, Richard Aiken, so nervous that he hired the Hardy Boys to dig up something, anything that he could use to discredit the Mapus and shut them up. And if word had gotten out that Malachi Craven, who it turns out is the one who tore Dr. Kim's camp up in a fit of anger mismanagement, was working with plant mutations, public pressure may have indeed caused the Hilihili to close its doors. But thanks to Frank and Joe and Dr. Kim and yours truly, the Mapu's plot was exposed, and the fritillated flag beetle population quickly fell to its normal size, as did that of the Norsobeta odorata moth. So, how did I spend the rest of my time on the Big Island? Well, let's just say when it comes to cleaning frass jars, I am an expert.
So, yeah, there's no alternate ending in this. Sassy Detective is an interesting title to use, and I've been awarded a title. Maybe this is some kind of internal score, but since I was using a walkthrough, the only reason my score may have gone down would have just been on the multitude of times I've had to use the second chances. But yeah, there's no alternate ending to this, and frankly, it feels to me like they made a game first, then they wrote a story around the elements of the game second, because there's just a lot of red herrings and loose plot holes, and just no real way you would have gotten deep into this mystery or had even a chance of figuring out what the mystery is. And then you just have a huge info dump at the end explaining everything. Just all the hallmarks of bad mystery writing. This does, perhaps, since we've been playing this game for, I'd say, roughly 7 hours, and I would say probably 3 to 3.5 of those 7 hours were spent fishing and making necklaces and doing mini games. It highlights how these mysteries aren't that long, and where a modern approach on this would be to have a game as a service mobile game of Nancy Drew, and then every 3 weeks just come out with another cheaply 2D animated mystery story that you have to solve over the course of a few hours. Perhaps putting timers in that mobile game so that you can only use a certain amount of stamina per day to accomplish so much. In fact, that would be an interesting experiment, certainly, to say if you can only interview, say, 2 or 3 people per day, and you have to interview 10 people per to solve a puzzle, then that would have you take at least a week to solve a mystery game. But yeah, that's not what we got here. I would like to think I was smart enough to pick this game because it had the Hardy Boys in it. The Hardy Boys being in this game certainly seems to have really just made it feel like it was half a Hardy Boys game and half a Nancy Drew game, neither one excelling. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have mystery stories with multiple protagonists anyways, because it doesn't highlight the genius of one specific person. there is a real problem about caring about what the mystery is, or even really knowing what the mystery is at all. The first cutscene we saw in this game, remember, was the camp being torn up. That mystery is solved at the last second when we find out that it was just Craven in a fit of rage tore up the camp, really for no reason at all. So let's click forward. Bug Guide for accomplishing entomology forget it. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the word. Chores in a remarkably timely fashion. So using the walkthrough and not taking a super long amount of time, these results might very well have been just based on using the walkthrough and not doing the main chart puzzle in the middle of the game. This game certainly fell off the rails and lost my interest once that chart puzzle got introduced, and that was halfway through the game. But it certainly wasn't doing great before then. You only get one title.
Bad things have been happening to the guests at Icicle Creek Lodge. They come for winter fun, like ice skating, cross-country skiing, and snowshoeing. But some leave,
Now we just have a commercial
lives.
for the next
Of course, the lodge is located
game, which
deep
they
in the wilds of the
had
Canadian
already made
Rockies,
at least a trailer
and it
for.
is the dead of an unusually cold, snowy winter. But is the lodge simply unlucky? Is it the target of some mysterious curse? Or is someone behind these strange events? Or does it have something to do with the elusive wolf that haunts the surrounding hills, howling before each new disaster? Help me find out in my next adventure, The White Wolf of Icicle Creek.
So the Creature of Kapu Cave was literally just moss. And it seems like there's just this history, this repeated history of them promising some kind of animal. And see, if this silhouette is supposed to be what Nancy Drew looks like, that's certainly not what she feels like to me. That definitely feels like Nancy Drew if she was slightly older, and if she was in the timeline, in the time frame that her books were originally written in. But yeah, I'm not really expecting Nancy Drew to be wearing a skirt that barely is slightly above her knees in that timeline. I'm not expecting her to be wearing high heels. And I'm not expecting her hair to be done in such a highly fashionable way in that silhouette. Yeah. What you certainly could do if you were going to make a new Nancy Drew series, a mobile game, is also have the possibility of making your own stories and submitting them, possibly giving away your copyright to submitting custom stories to the community, so that then new Nancy Drew books might get written based on the player's own creation. Maybe you could even figure a way so that wasn't just completely a one-way direction as far as how copyrights might go, where the players of the game, if their stories get published as a book, do get some kind of publishing deal. But yeah, even inside a game and not published in actual books, custom player created content would help build out a Nancy Drew mobile game. But mostly I think it probably would be minimalistic interaction, minimalistic mini games, and just more of a visual novel, if not kinetic visual novel experience on a cell phone. Yeah. And certainly, if they weren't going to make a mobile game, I think minimalistic visual novels and kinetic visual novels with Nancy Drew probably would be better for the budget. It would help them churn out new Nancy Drew games. Unfortunately, they've established, Her Interactive has established that Nancy Drew games are these 3D CGI games, and they just continue to go down that path. it makes me wonder how many people actually have played a lot of Nancy Drew games, though. Or if it isn't more of a case that they've just churned out a bunch and then people play one or two of them and then get bored of them and possibly just read the books instead. That might also be the same reason why Sherlock Holmes games have not been hugely successful, is that maybe they are just better in their original format as a story, and they are not made better by being in a video game. And inherently, if you wanted to make something like a Sherlock Holmes or Nancy Drew story, it would be fairly easy to just introduce a new character and not have to pay the license for Nancy Drew. Although I think her Interactive actually owns the Nancy Drew books, if I was to guess. Otherwise, they wouldn't seem to exclusively only make Nancy Drew. And the credits just keep on going in circles there, so we went around twice. But yeah. I am unimpressed. I do think that some of the very first Dossier games that I've played on my channel were worse. A little bit worse. In that there was just a lot more do this puzzle game multiple times and have several puzzle games. Whereas this game did seem to be willing to just let the game end and not try and waste the player's time as much. That being said, I don't expect that any of the games here that they're already advertising are any better than this game. I would have to just assume that they get better and better over the course of several games in a linear direction. And so if I was going to play another Nancy Drew game, which is possibly a big if, I probably would play the absolute newest one. And these advertisements, by the way, only go up to games, I guess, before this game. So I would assume that this game is number 15 and the White Wolf is number 16. Alright, well, I guess that was a shorter series than I thought it might be, but I guess that's a good thing. Would I recommend this game? Not really. You're probably better just reading Nancy Drew. Still hope that maybe some of the absolute newest ones might be significantly better, but I wouldn't really put a lot of faith into that either. Anyways, that's going to be it for this series. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos because that helps me with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to check out any of the other games I've covered, go to my YouTube page and click on the playlist tab, and I have a playlist for every game. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.